Welcome to this video quantum conversation. I am here with a good friend and a person who is so dialed into the Arcturian frequencies. It is amazing. And he's about to share an exciting story with us. Hi, Gene. Welcome.
Hi, Lauren. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to talk with you.
And great to see you too. Oh my goodness, this is so amazing. We've done a lot of shows together and a lot of high energy online healing retreats, and it's just so fun to see you.
Yeah, this is a great medium to explore. Yeah, nice with the
Yeah.
video.
And I know that when you do the transmission of Arcturian energies, it's just going to be cool to see how you do that. And to see that visibly is very, very cool. So thank you. Let's start with the most exciting news of all. I know many are very interested in this. You have been working to make contact with off-planet beings and the Arcturians. And so something just happened recently. Share that story.
Oh yeah, so about a week ago to the day, but last Monday, I started a training and actually it was Sunday night that we had the contact experience in Zermatt, Switzerland, which is the home of the Matterhorn mountains and a whole range of mountains. So it's known as a contact site, and like we had discussed earlier, if people have read Tom Kenyon's book in Arcturian Anthology, he had a experience connecting with the Arcturian ships there. So part of our reason for going there was to do further contact work, and we had discussed contact work that I had experienced just recently at Mount Shasta, and I know we did together the online healing retreat with that, and also a quantum conversation with that. So we went up there, we went out, very cold and crisp, clear night, and the major contact were actually 7 power-ups, which are basically where at the star level you see basically dark sky, and then basically it looks like a star powers up, maybe 10 times its size, and then goes back down to darkness within about 3 seconds. So, and that's very hard to explain in terms of any human or human-made sort of phenomenon or mechanism. But within a span of about 5 minutes, we saw 7 of those, consecutively, in slightly different parts of the sky. So it was as if you were seeing 7 of these light bulbs go off in the same part of the sky, but not in the exact same location. So I can say more, but well, just to finish that off, we had had similar contact experiences in Sedona like that, and we didn't have this piece of equipment with us in Zermatt, but if you see that under night vision goggles, or we had seen that phenomenon in Sedona with night vision goggles, and it's actually one ship, it's actually one object. It's just powering up at various times, and then it goes back down to a light source level that to the visible eye is invisible, or basically looks dark, but under the night vision goggles it still comes up bright. So it's actually moving and it's just powering up 7 different, or however many different times you can see it visibly. So I think those 7 power-ups in Zermatt was probably one light craft just moving and then powering up. And then the other point is that we had lasers, which are a way that I learned from Stephen Greer's protocol you basically can signal back to these phenomena, these ships, so to speak. You circle them with basically an astronomy laser that looks like it's hitting the night sky. And I found that in my experience with contact, that if you have that capacity to signal back with light source, that you tend to have more visible contact and not just sort of, in etheric or consciousness contact. So we would circle these as they were going, and I think that's what led to more power-ups. So.
Okay, that's so very cool, Gene. So by circle, you mean you would beam the laser, is it like a laser pen? And you would just circle in a little
Yeah.
circle? Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly. Around the the light object that was powering up. So it's a way for us to signal back to them. So you're having this two-way conversation with frequency, basically, or light, and also your consciousness. So there was some consciousness contact that I can go over, like what we were thinking in the group, or what I was thinking when that happened. And then one more point is that the power-ups, there were some visibly different lights each time it powered up. And one in particular, there was a gold. In particular, it looked gold to there were 4 of us there, and we all saw this, so it wasn't just individuals. And then another one in particular had green in it.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is very interesting. So when you saw the power-ups, you said it was like a star level where it would get bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Did it change colors when it was getting bigger? Did it like, I mean, you did primarily say these colors, but did it flicker different colors?
Mm-hmm. Pretty much stays the same color. I mean, it might have changed into different colors that were depending on like how sensitive people were to the actual color range. But it's fairly quick. So I would say each power-up's about 3 seconds long. But it's so significant because it's coming from a black patch of sky. And during the time when it powers up, it's not moving. So I can, Stephen Greer has recorded this phenomena at Mount Shasta. So I could at least forward you the video on YouTube, so you can, people can get a sense of, like how that looks.
Cool.
And in Mount Shasta, that's where I've seen the most, but I have also seen that phenomena in Sedona, and also, in Pennsylvania, and even in places that aren't, so-called hot spots, but I guess are hot spots.
Yes. Okay. All right. We'll add that video and we'll overlay it here so we can share what that looks like. And so, you were talking about the lasers and making contact. You literally were communicating in a way. So based on your last experience when you were in Shasta, you did receive a download in energies, and then you actually assisted all of us to tap into that energy. So I love when you call it consciousness contact. And I think that's what we're going to bring through today, is a little bit of those energies. So I just think that's really cool. And then the fact that they were using these color rays for you or with you on this. And
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Oh no, that was great how you pointed that out. And I mentioned before that I had done a lot of training with Stephen Greer initially in 2009 to kind of learn these protocols. And then after that, I just sort of started to use that, and also just sort of informally work with groups. The main thing is through consciousness, and that's kind of why I was mentioning it's consciousness contact. So we did actually go out there, not just to look at stars, but actually the group had intended to make contact with any type of interdimensional beings or craft in particular that you could see outside. And I had actually had no expectations because it was the first time going to Zermott or to Switzerland. And so I didn't really know what to expect. And I think that may have helped in some ways to not have any expectations, because it was of the sightings I've had, that would have to be, top 2 or 3 single sightings, significant ones. So it was kind of this interaction between our intention and, I guess, the intention of the beings, or what showed up, and not such a random experience.
All right, so it's been a week. Have you had a chance to unpack the information? Or when you were there, did someone have an experience or a transmission? Were they able to get that transmission or decode it?
Yeah. A couple of things. I don't think it's Arcturian. That's one thing.
Okay.
So kind of like a process of elimination a bit, which in some ways is significant for myself, or just in general, just because I've been connecting with Arcturian energies predominantly. I don't think it's the same as what we transmitted from the Mount Shasta with last year, which I called the Intergalactics. And then more recently, like in the last day or so, the the symbolic being that seems to be showing up is a golden lion being. So I know
A
there's something of
lion?
yeah, a
Golden
lion, yeah, a lion
lion.
faced, or so that could be symbolic of the energy and also the consciousness. But I know there is something that I need to explore in J.J. Hertog's book, The Keys of Enoch, where the Sphinx, the face of the Sphinx, he refers to that, I believe, I have to re-reference it, as actually an intergalactic being that actually is more lion in nature. But he does have a reference to some type of lion intergalactic beings.
And
Mhm.
Jean, I'm not sure if you're aware. I know that you do a lot of your work and you don't read around to others because you like to bring your channel and your energies in pure and clear. But right now, with this eclipse window that we just finished back even in August to the one most recently at our new moon, the lion, it's been very lion energy. So
Oh, wow.
I find that fascinating.
Wow.
That's really cool. And then the
Yeah.
fact that it's a golden line being. I know that
Hmm.
Judy Callie would say it's the golden, it's like the golden dolphins, the golden lion. It's a level of ascension,
Oh,
a
wow.
graduation in a way. So I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That'll really help. This is like just like maybe within the last 24 hours that I've had that inner sense as I tune back into the energies. Mhm.
Wow. And
Yeah.
to me, that really is an empowerment. And we've had other guests on Quantum Conversations that talk about this time with the lion and how we can
Mm.
truly embody the lion. So that's really cool. You had an experience with that. All right. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe later we can kind of tap back in and we can maybe experience the energies of that um, experience because I do think it was like you said a download. And the other point that I got was that it was meant to be sort of packaged as a frequency for other people to share with other people. So maybe even like one of our online healing retreats can be some of those transmissions so people can experience more of the energy encoding. Uh, because what I've learned is those light bulb experiences, those flashes into a circle, this came from the training I had with Stephen Greer, are actually packets of light information codes, a tremendous amount that occurs. Um, so you're experiencing something physically, but on the interdimensional levels of your subtle bodies, you're receiving a lot of information that, of course, is coded or packed.
Yeah, that's so
Mhm.
cool. All right, so you had a very gentle contact then. I know others with contact, sometimes you get the beam of information and it's so much energy coming in that you have to go lie down and go to sleep, right? How did
All
you
right.
feel that night? How did you sleep that night? Did you have dreams?
Mm-hmm.
Woke up the next morning? Did you hear anything, sense anything?
Yeah, that's great. Great point to unpack. Just from my own reflection, I did note that I didn't sleep as much. We were at 10,000 feet. Just where we were. So there was a thinner or less oxygen in general, which I did note. But I usually don't need as much sleep, maybe because of the meditation practice. But I did note that even less that evening. And one of the things is I wrote down everything. I'll have to send you the write-up. Maybe that could be added to some online healing retreat. Because I took notes immediately after, which I haven't always done, even though I've had a lot of significant experiences. But that is kind of the strong suggestion, is because these are almost like you're in an altered state of consciousness, even though you're awake. You tend to forget a lot of the significant points, almost like when you're dreaming and you think you'll remember all these really cool images, but then you come back to sort of beta brain waves or this more three-dimensional reality, and you kind of forget those. But I did note maybe 4 or 5 pages worth of notes immediately after. So there may have also been, there was a sense of being contacted on the consciousness level from these beings, which I can share, which I think is as significant or even more significant in the long term. So one of the things is that I may have had sort of a motivating impetus, maybe from their interaction, to make sure that I wrote down what I experienced. So it could be shared or somehow recorded.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Especially with the incredible work you do with the frequencies. And just for those who are new to Jean Eng, this is a person who channels incredible interdimensional energies. And Jean, I've watched you over the years and experienced the change in frequencies that come through you. It's as if when you open yourself to the Arcturian energies, more energies come to you. And so that it's like you were beamed with energy there in Switzerland. I just think that's so amazing. And it's light information. So it's fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. It was interesting because of I think there's there were three other people in the group who two of them actually were at the Mount Shasta retreat from the year before. So they
Yeah.
had yeah, there's an interesting phenomena that once you've had contact, which many of the your speakers and also listeners have experienced, you tend to I guess have more contact because you're open to it. But there's almost a signature that they may be reading in your field. I know that happens with dolphins. When I went to Hawaii and experienced that for the first time, almost naturally in the ocean, they came up. The Hawaiian who was with me said that once you're read by their sonar, then anyone, like if came and swam in Ventura Beach out here in California, and the dolphins saw me in the water, they would know that I've been read by dolphins. So it's something in your field that stays permanent. So I think the same thing it's very similar communication strategies, so to speak, the interdimensional beings. I guess dolphins would be interdimensional beings, or we all are. But yeah, so I think that might have also been a main factor in the contact again in Zermatt. And these people were actually from Switzerland, so it's almost like their home country. The ones who were also in Mount Shasta. So I think there was something in our field being reignited. Yeah.
Activated, absolutely. On your mission on Earth, for New Earth. I think that's just so cool. And I love that story with the dolphins as well. And there's just very interesting stories that do come up. You know, the dolphins will totally heal you. If you're you know, on the back of a boat and you're swimming with the dolphins, for example, they will come up and they will take that away. And they do like scan you and read you. And at times I was aware of another person that was not allowed in the water with us. And so that could be the dolphins at play as well. It's very interesting how that works. A kahuna had mentioned that person was not supposed to be in the water with you. So it's interesting. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll just mention, I was just to finish that, the point was also that, so we called it the Zermatt 7 because there were, one person in particular remembered how many light flashes there were in our excitement. Like we're all talking, they did remember actually how many power-ups there were, and there were 7. So it seems like there, you know, a way to embody it is as 7 transmissions or 7 kind of packets of information that, you know, somehow may get kind of like, that could be a way to package it.
Wow, absolutely. And you know, for the skeptics out there, I just want to say, Jean, that, you know, your training in this and your intuition and the way that you feel frequencies, you know, without a doubt that this was significant. And and so when we each have experiences like this, no matter what, we should tap into it the way that you did. And I love how you said to write it down when you wrote it down, because yes, absolutely. There's so much energy coming in that you must write it down because you will forget it. And I've had people say that truly, when we open to receiving information like this, light encoded information, that we actually have a responsibility to share it with the world. So good on you for doing that, really.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's great about the skeptics and people who are evaluating it critically, because I, even from my own scientific background and even with this experience, which was interesting in the communication piece, was at the very towards I didn't know when it was going to end, but it seemed so significant that almost like out of a movie, that in my mind I was thinking to them, because they are aware of our thoughts. I was like, if this is true, I'd like it to like make sure that the pulsation wasn't too regular, because it's too regular, then I'm thinking to myself, this could be human made. Like if there's 7 pulses and you're counting like a 5-second beat, then, and it's always occurring at 5 seconds, then to me that might be too that could be human made. But what happened is, as soon as I thought that, it ended. So I guess it's not a definitive proof, but if there was any communication, it's like, the communication to me intuitively was, no, this was real, and see, it's stopping now. Like, it's not just like because like one thing that you can really tell for easily, but airplane lights also blink, but that's a totally different level of blinking. But they'll keep blinking at like 3 seconds or 5-second rhythm, and you'll just keep seeing them blink as the plane moves across the sky. So it just went silent after that thought form. So there was definitely this subtle inner communication. There's more of this inner communication that occurred during that 5 minutes, but that was one very significant one for me that you'll probably see in the write-up.
This really is the evolution of consciousness. This sort of contact is advancing consciousness, where we're not allowed for that thought form anymore, right? When it ended, it was as if it's like, yeah, we're not going to play that. You know better, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So then our topic is Arcturian healing frequencies and consciousness. And yet here, just a week ago, you had conscious contact, conscious communication that you still are unpacking. So we're going to experience that with you in a special video transmission of those frequencies. But I just think that's really cool, right? It really is consciousness communication.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing, and this may also apply to, the Arcturian work, which we've talked a bit about, but the way the contact happened that evening was, so the night sky there, like at 10,000 feet, and it was so clear. I mean, there wasn't a cloud in the sky. Yeah, that particular evening. But for whatever reason, and this can happen unconsciously, I think, if you're just like blown away by the whole experience. And that's the whole thing, is as you get used to doing this, it's sort of like swimming with the dolphins. The first time you're so excited that there's a level of depth of consciousness that you're no longer aware of. You're kind of like, you're like almost like just high on, on the whole experience. But if you can calm down enough, that's actually where their consciousness is. It's almost like a whale consciousness. It's so deep. And what I noticed is, like, when we went out there were only certain parts of the sky we were all, the 4 of us, drawn to look at and like play with laser around, even though the whole thing was clear. And when I noted that, and sometimes they communicate to you that way, is you start speaking as if it's your own thoughts, but it's actually them communicating to you because it's so subtle. So I kept telling the group, because this is what I was noting, like, look how we only keep watching this part of the sky and not like behind us, from where we're facing, even though they're equally clear. And as soon as I said that, that's when it started. In that area of sky we were attracted to. It's like, so these kind of things, maybe people probably go out, maybe they'll go out on their own. You can just note these kind of things. They seem like your thoughts, but their consciousness is overlaying really subtly on yours, so that the communication is occurring. But if you're a little bit too like in 3D reality, and that could be due to the excitement, you'll think it's just your thoughts until maybe you reflect, or if during the moment you can sort of slow your thoughts down. you'll be in that deep conversation while it's happening.
Yeah.
These are just notes to myself, you know.
Yeah,
Oh,
good.
yeah,
So
yeah.
really everyone stay calm and really
Mm-hmm.
stay centered in the heart. I want to share a quick note. I have a friend who channels many beings, and in her home one evening, she started to see this purple mist in the room down the
Mm-hmm.
hallway. And
Mm-hmm.
she sensed it was Saint Germain, and she got really excited, and it immediately disappeared. And
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
she heard, you can't get excited.
Right, right.
Really cool. Okay. And like with the dolphins as well, you know, if you're chasing after them and you're excited, they'll get out of there really quickly. And so the
Right.
more that we can stay calm, because it really is this evolution in consciousness. So stay tuned, everyone, as we learn more and more about this. I've even spoken with people who know that off-planet beings are here to raise the vibration, and that really means they're beaming us with energy, and that's really what you've experienced.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and you know, at some point, you know, I know maybe we wanted to talk about the Arcturians, but this kind of is very exciting also. But you can experience kind of both of the frequencies. I haven't attempted to connect with these frequencies, although that I think that was packaged in the information was to definitely make it available to others to experience. And you know, I know how to do that. I've already got the sense of that. So we wanted to, you know, experience some of that so people could connect, and then they can just make a connection on their own to those beings. I don't even know what to call them yet, except Zermatt 7 right now. So
Yes, something with a golden line
you go in
being.
line, right?
All right, so everyone stay tuned, because this is going to be where Jean brings through frequencies, and we're going to connect. Hopefully you'll bring through these beings in this short transmission that we'll do. Of course, we do a lot of other deep work with you online, and that's just beautiful too. But this experience is for all of our viewers and listeners today. Before we get there though, share with us, for those who are not familiar, how you opened up to this. Here you are, a Yale neurobiologist, and you've gone through deep spiritual training and awakening as well. And now your mission is to really be the conduit for these incredible energies. So share that, and then we'll go into the transmission.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the you know, the work we've been doing together here, which has been great. It's also, I guess, a broadcasting station to for others to you know, partake of that, or find their own resonance with that on their spiritual journey. Has been through the Arcturian consciousness, which I think is becoming more and more. I wouldn't call it mainstream, but more within the spiritual community. There's different people connecting and being public about their connections. So I think other people have been able to make their own personal connection to that particular class of interdimensional beings. And I think that really opened, even though I don't think that what we were discussing, I wouldn't call them the Arcturians. The Arcturian consciousness, I'm sure, was there. And of course, would pave the way for me to be, and also the people there. It was an Arcturian training that we were there for. It was the night before we were going to start this, you know, day training called Arcturian Resilience Training, which was a new kind of class. But so that might have been part of the inauguration, was from these beings, more to unpack. But that paved the way, I guess, for myself and those people there to be open enough to receive that experience. So I think we were, you know, for me, it's been quite a long path, like you said, since being more three-dimensionally, you know, trained as an expert in the three-dimensional world, a very small avenue of the three-dimensional world, which would be neuroscience, but really to be trained at that level, but then to this evolution of consciousness, to be open and up enough to receive kind of a very physically experience from another dimension. I think there needs to be that kind of preparation period. I don't know how long it has to be. It doesn't necessarily have to be in years, although it's each person's, I guess, soul plan. But like what you were saying, I think you said it was gentle. from hearing what I said. Because a physical appearance could be very destabilizing if let's say my consciousness was 10 years ago, because my level of consciousness was very geared inappropriately for that time of my life to the three-dimensional world, to do science every day at a, kind of at that very high level and focused in the physical world. And to have an experience like that in the sort of physical world, but interdimensionally, I realized this, and it also could have been a communication during that evening. You can have two reactions to that. One, it could destabilize you if you haven't had that process of kind of slowly opening up, or you will try to explain that experience through your current paradigm, which like for me 10 years ago would have been more three-dimensional or physical. So I would try to explain that from a physical or scientific materialist paradigm, like maybe it was a satellite, or maybe it was something of this nature, and not let's say acknowledge maybe that it was a spiritual or interdimensional phenomena. So which could then somewhat close down the beauty and the possibility of the unpacking of that experience for what it really was. And so I think that's why there's a gradual evolutionary process, so that when a physical experience like that happens, first it won't be destabilizing, and then two, it could be sort of brought through in the correct manner or interpreted somewhat, at least along accurate lines. Of course, there's no like precise way to interpret that, but and that was a thought I had that evening. So maybe that was a communication.
Yeah, interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that is very interesting, Jean. You are still unpacking the information, and it just brings to mind other experiences of contact. Before we get into your meditation, I do just want to say you're a neuroscientist at Yale, not a neurobiologist, a neuroscientist. And I just find it amazing that, working with the brain and those pathways, now you're channeling off-planet interdimensional frequencies for our planet. Again, it's quite amazing. When we see ships in the clouds, or clouds that are shaped like a ship, like that happens a lot in Mount Shasta, we can really tune in to the cloud and see if there's an information, light code or information coming from that ship as well. What about clouds real quick, and then we'll move on?
Oh yeah. Yeah. The, kind of the knowledge base I have around that. And I have seen those, I believe they call like lenticular formations, or around Mount Shasta, a very unique kind of cloud formation that will occur around, particularly around Mount Shasta. If you look that up on, images or Google that. And it only occurs sometimes. But the etheric ships, like the idea is that these interdimensional consciousness and forms can densify into the physical, and the most dense that I've seen it is in a form of a light, which we were talking about. But they can also stay more etheric, and therefore sort of overlay on the cloud. So the cloud is acting like something in the physical that the etheric body of the ship or the being or the consciousness is overlaying on. And then sensitives, or people who might tune into that cloud, are sensing that etheric and other consciousness aspect or interdimensional quality of the cloud. And then that's what they tune into. So it's almost like there's a form there for the beings to merge with.
Very interesting. I know some would say that these are aspects of ourself. These could be other aspects, like it could be an aspect of one of your higher selves. Have you considered that much?
Yeah, exactly. And there was some discussion because prior to the this experience, which is more kind of right at the forefront, but I think also links back to the Arcturian work. I had just given a level 6 Arcturian healing class. That's the highest level so far in Bern, Switzerland. So we were coming from basically 12 days of transmission, 12 transmissions worth of experience to that first evening in Zermatt. So we were kind of soaking in the Arcturian energy. And what we did discuss was that a lot of, that we're right now an aspect of a higher aspect of ourself, like our gene, this personality is an aspect. So another aspect could be the things that we're seeing in the as light formations. Yeah, so yeah, that's a model that I've also been toying with or contemplating in a cool way.
It's hard to wrap our head around,
Right.
but it is very cool, and we'll get it someday. All right, very cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, I want to give you the space now for your transmission,
Oh
which
yeah.
will help you bring in some of those new energies or tap back into it. That would be so special, Jean.
Okay. Yeah. So why don't we do this first transmission, and then I'll tune back in, or we can talk again. And since we've been talking about, I'll call it the Zermatt 7 transmissions. It's probably the label will be used going in, but um, uh, yeah, I'm just kind of tuning in. So probably of that, the first burst of light, we'll experience what the frequencies and energies from that encoding will feel like. So people, yeah, you probably see me close my eyes and so forth, but yeah, people want to just get in whatever position you feel comfortable to receive the energies. And then after this, I can also explain how I'm tapping back into that frequency and information. Okay, so we're beginning to experience the first burst of energy from the Zermatt 7 experience. You can just relax and just receive as it's coming across. And regardless of what you're experiencing, you'll be receiving the appropriate energy and information from the divine through these higher beings to your subtle bodies directly. As there's no need to worry about time and space from where the transmission is occurring. Seems like it's continuing to unfold, so we'll keep going with the transmission. And from my senses is coming across, the frequencies feel very solid, almost like a solid block of energy or frequencies or information. Of course, you may be experiencing it in a unique way, so that doesn't have to be the manner in which you're receiving this. Okay, seems like the frequencies ended there, and I think by channeling them, messages is that there'll be some unpacking that can occur. Okay, when you feel comfortable, you can come back into your body, moving your fingers and your toes. When you feel comfortable, you can open your eyes and snap your fingers.
Okay, thank you. I know that people experience that in their own ways, but let's just share here and see if we have any correlations.
Mm-hmm.
That was really cool. Okay, so I didn't see any beings, but the energy that I felt at first, it was like a pulse, almost like a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
was like at least 12 or 15 times, and then it was a big, and it was like a solid dose of energy after that, and then it did
Mm-hmm.
level off, and then it
Mm-hmm.
almost felt like a big block was just coming down over my head. That's
Yeah.
what I experienced.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's actually what I also experienced it as, if I were to characterize what I was experiencing. And this is actually the first time I have channeled the transmissions, but so it would be a unique experience for me. But it was like a solid block. I don't know. Not that this was what was occurring in my mind, but just happening now. Similar to like the Matrix, Neo, the Matrix, that movie with Keanu Reeves, where they have all those codes coming down. But this actually felt like a block of a frequency and energy coming down, very solid block.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we could
Mm-hmm.
work with that later. That's really interesting. And
Mm-hmm.
keep a pen handy so that we can decode that ourselves. Very
Mm-hmm.
cool. I know. I would imagine that even some could feel more of like a swaying in their body.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's just really cool.
Yeah. It may be worth doing a second transmission. Of course, we also have some Arcturian frequencies, and depending on our time, but it may be worth to do a second transmission from the Zermatt 7 from the second burst, just as a contrast. We can see what it feels like. Maybe it'll feel completely different, and maybe we'll get another message kind of to unpack it, which will kind of reflect back on the first one. And then if people want to experience some, Arcturian frequencies after, or what our time leaves us with.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Okay. Experiencing the Zermatt 7, the second burst from the frequencies and information encoded from that. We're beginning that now. You can just receive and relax. And just enjoy the transmissions and energies. Knowing that it's from the divine through your higher self, facilitated by the higher beings of this experience for our greatest good and evolution on the planet and the solar system, and of course into other star systems in the universe and multi-universe. So it seems like the transmission is still going, so we'll keep going. And just my sense as it's coming through is it has definitely a different quality than the Zermatt 7 first burst transmission. And the codes and information are meant to accelerate your consciousness. Okay, that seemed to end there. So you can gently but firmly come back to your physical body now, moving your fingers and your toes, coming completely back to your physical body now. When you feel comfortable, you can open your eyes and snap your fingers.
Okay, very, very cool. I invite our viewers and listeners to share their experience about their experience with us, because it does assist all of us. All right, that was very different, Jean. Okay, so I don't know what you experienced, but for me, it was more like a swirling in the energy, like a bubbling, right? And then it started more like towards my lower chakras, and then it was like lifting upward. I mean, it was really kind of very interesting, and then it seemed to stabilize, and then when you feel it in the lower chakras again, it was almost as if it was making us levitate, like just and then merging or blending with the block that was coming down in the first burst.
Yeah. No, that's exactly, I mean, similar to how I would describe it. I didn't get the experience with the lower chakras. It might have gone there too, but I did get the fact that it was more bubbly, more kind of active, kind of more like this, like very rather than like a solid kind of block coming down. It was more like this active, kinetic type of tube, maybe, that was coming, smaller but more active. So, and it definitely felt different than the first one.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
And we each integrate these differently. And so that tells me, what I really felt when it was in those lower chakras is it was like more of the evolution of oneness, coming back into oneness instead of, having to be in a fight or flight or a fear. It was like more of a oneness. So very cool. And these are codes to accelerate consciousness. We can certainly feel that. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, sometimes I do try to speak from the energies, or I do when during the transmissions. But there was the sense of the multiverse, and I remember just remembering right prior to that experience during the level 6 training, some of my own thoughts that I was contemplating was the fact that there are like, forgot, I was just reading somewhere like 600 billion galaxies, which is when you meditate just on that, what the physical amount of galaxies there are is phenomenal, not let alone solar systems. So I guess there's more stars than there are like sand, particles of sand on the Earth. But, it's just like phenomenal. So I think there are universes and multiverses, and maybe these communications are connecting us more directly to that experience.
The evolution of consciousness. You were really at the forefront of it, Jean, and these energies that you bring through are just amazing in the way that it helps us physically and emotionally. I know in the past it's done a lot of work to bring a lot of clarity and purpose in our lives, and it just seems like as we do this work and you assist facilitating that it's opening to such different experiences in that evolution. So it's just really cool. And again, I thank you. So before we go today, it would be really beautiful for everyone to experience the Arcturian Healing Frequency, because this is something that even with what we experience today, we can do it on our animals and ourselves whenever. We can tap back into it. I know it's been very helpful for me and so many other people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's kind of a new frequency. It seems to be kind of right here now. That's Arcturian. They're called the Arcturian Flying Dragon frequencies. I mean, there have been Arcturian dragons in the method, like already at level 3, as I was just, this is just a way to codify it. And like I mentioned, there are already 6 levels, but there's a form that is just evolving now that I've connected to called Arcturian flying dragons. So I thought maybe we'd experience the gold white one on the gold theme. There's one called the Arcturian gold white flying dragons. And then we can see some other, maybe some supporting frequencies from the Arcturian method will come in afterwards. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll experience some Arcturian healing method frequencies. And this is called the Arcturian golden white flying dragon frequency. And on one level, it's meant to help you find your purpose, if your deep sense of purpose. And also, if you have already found your mission or purpose, it helps you to lock on or stay true to that in your life. Now we're moving to what's called the Arcturian flow frequency, and that puts you in a state of consciousness in the, actually it's called the Arcturian glow frequency. That puts you into a flow state of consciousness. So we're starting with the Arcturian glow frequency. Okay, so that ends the transmission there. And you can gently but firmly come back to your physical body now, moving your fingers and your toes, coming completely back to your physical body now. And when you feel comfortable, you can open your eyes and snap your fingers.
Boy, so beautiful and so lovely, nurturing and very subtle. And a lot of information was coming in for me there. It was interesting because I didn't want to come out of that. And I know that we go very deep in the stuff that you do, but that was just, it's just so elating and lovely. Very nice.
Oh, great, great. Yeah, those are both pretty new frequencies in the method, so, and very positive, uplifting ones.
Yes, when we were talking about this will help you with your purpose,
Mm-hmm.
that was just that was the nurturing aspect that I felt with it. Often so many of us beat ourselves up because we don't feel that we're living our purpose, or we don't know what our purpose is, or even if we are on our purpose, we're scared to take the next step. We hear that inner voice, but those energies were so nurturing and supportive for that. And
Oh,
again, different, very different. We really are receiving our new earth mission and our new earth inner directives.
mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I think everyone's kind of opening up to that, and also maybe getting new ones or evolving the ones they've had.
Yes, we're going to see a lot of shift and change this year, so even with the crazy political world that's out there, I really do attribute that to people going deeper within and clearing out the fears that they have, and so that they can listen to this inner call of the heart and really make change and create new things. And these frequencies are totally supporting us in that.
Oh yeah, yeah, and yeah, I wanted to thank you for this. I think this conversation also helped to unpack some, the Zermatt 7 transmissions. That was, I think, this was a major unpacking of that, just because it's connected to so many people. The information field we've created here,
Yeah.
so I think a lot will come from this and from this moving onwards, and in particular with those that experience and those transmissions. I just want to thank you.
Oh, well, thank you, Jean. The Zermott 7, those energies were very vibrant and, what do you say, profound? I mean, we could really feel them, whereas
Mm-hmm.
the Arcturians are just so subtle and nurturing, and they both are different. So I think that's cool in itself, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got a contrast, variety.
We invite all our viewers and listeners to join us in an online healing retreat with Jean. We've got master classes coming up. These are very cool because we do them online, three sessions in a row, and they're about 2 hours each, 90 minutes to 2 hours, and we just go so very deep. So Jean, wow, in the one coming up, we will be doing the Zermott 7 transmissions.
Yeah, yeah, we'll definitely go through them and unpack all seven so people can experience them. Probably two per session, maybe three on one day, so to get all seven in, and really also what they're for, so people can really utilize them on all dimensions, particularly here in their personal life in the three-dimensional world where we're learning and giving, the most and significantly. So it'll be a great step down of interdimensional frequencies all the way down here into the physical plane, which I think it's its purpose. It wasn't just meant to be sort of in a very high plane, although that's a great source. I think it was meant to be stepped down through all the dimensions, particularly into the physical.
Beautiful. All right, so we'll be stepping down those energies in our next online healing retreat. That's Master Class 8 with Jean Eng. And I also want to say that, Jean, we've done 7 master classes, and those are available in a special offer. They really are exquisite. They've got individual MP3 breakouts of the transmissions, so people can go directly to those. And there's been reports of people healing their brain, working with their nervous system, healing their body, lots of great things, and really advancing their consciousness. So I'll just give you a minute to share about those online healing retreats.
Oh yeah, that's great. I didn't realize we had so many together, but that's wonderful. Yeah, those are really the Arcturian healing method, almost like archives of the various frequencies. There's no repeats. That was intentionally that each healing retreat would be an exposure to different aspects of the frequency. And over the last three or so years, we've it's evolved with the way the Arcturian healing method has evolved. So every session you'll be receiving something new, definitely centered around healing. So that's the intention that you have on all levels: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, but also on consciousness development and that piece of bringing forth your best self and also your spiritual mission. That's also seems to be in strong resonance with the Arcturian consciousness. So I believe a number of those healing retreats were focused on that.
Yes, beautiful. So thank you for that, Jean. That whole body of work is available in your special offer. And of course, we invite people to join us for our next online healing retreat. Those are really exquisite. And after 3 days of that, we are on a whole new level. If they were to measure the group energy, I know it would be off the charts. It would be really elevated.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm really looking forward to the next one with the Zermatt 7, and the Arcturian healing frequencies will also be used to kind of support people as they both get into the transmission to sort of prepare their subtle bodies, as well as to integrate their subtle bodies coming out. So that's always been a boon to have those frequencies available when integrating other new ones like the Zermatt 7 into someone's system.
Yes, and we know from the past that these integration periods in these webinars are some of the most enjoyable parts of it. People love those integration periods. Really is cool. Well, Jean Eng, channel of the Arcturian healing frequencies and interdimensional beings, all from divine source through our higher selves. This has been a fascinating quantum conversation and a beautiful light encoded experience. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks, Lauren. Thanks. And thanks, everyone. Thanks for this great experience and this great group feel.
Bye, everyone. We'll see you. Thanks, Jean.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you, too, for listening to this quantum conversation. If you'd like to access Jean Eng's online healing retreat of the Zermatt 7 frequency transmissions, please click the special offer button on this webpage.